Hi, Todd Pouliot, Gateway Financial, mygatewaymoney.com. Feel free to give us that thumbs up. It helps us with the algorithm, and subscribe. We appreciate you coming back for another video on stock options. This video is called Restricted Stock Units. There's several different types of stock options: non-qualified stock options, incentive stock options. There's even things called phantom stock options. So you need to understand what you are actually working with your employer. So it is a popular form of equity compensation that, after vesting, results in the employee's receipt of shares of a company stock or a cash payout. It's similar to a bonus. RSUs can be positive effect on the cash flow, but can incur taxes that require planning. Many of our clients have been or will be granted restricted stock units by their employers during their careers, and it's important for these fortunate clients to develop an understanding of how these interests fit into their overall financial plan. So we're going to cover four main areas in the RSU checklist today. We're going to cover the key characteristics of an RSU, or again, a restricted stock unit, ordinary income tax considerations at vesting, capital gains tax considerations at sale, and company stock and portfolio considerations. If you've been following me over the last couple of videos on stock options, you know how passionate I am about this particular issue and how it affected my family. And one of the areas we are going to cover last is about how to make that work in your plan. So as usual, we are going to share our screen over here and get to our checklist. Do you need to review how RSUs work? Obviously, if we're here, we definitely should be checking that X in the yes box. And do you need to confirm the conditions of vesting? These are one of the things when you're working with your HR department. Understand that they may fully vest after a number of years, or it may be a gradual vesting schedule over multiple years. So it's a graded or a cliff scheduling, sometimes it's referred to. And it may tie vesting to a liquidity event or performance goals. So understand individually how your restricted stock units work at your individual company. Everybody does them a little bit different, so you really need to make sure that you understand those plans. And vesting triggers. Closely monitor those vesting triggers and ensure there's no surprise tax liability. Here we are in tax season, and sometimes people get surprised at the return that they're getting, and sometimes people get surprised at the amount they owe. This is called tax planning, folks. We need to make sure we do tax planning, understand, and make sure there's no surprise tax liability. And you may not have cash on hand for that. Somebody we helped is getting actually a loan to pay for their stock option. Now, yes, that's a very unique case, but in this instance, it works out for the benefit of everyone. Does your plan allow you to defer distribution of shares and continue to hold units until a later date, or post vesting, or at retirement? That's good planning. Very good planning if you can. It could be advantageous to you if you look at the future of your business and tax recognition from your overall plan. Understand what events may accelerate any deferred payments. Do you need to review what you will receive when your RSUs vest? Whether or not it's a cash settlement or a stock settlement option is offered. That is really good data to know when we're doing planning for people who have been gifted these bonuses of restricted stock units. Does your company accrue or pay dividends equivalents while you hold the restricted stock units? Consider how this affects your cash flow and tax liability. I always tell people we have a CPA here in our office, and that's one of the great things about being able to get up out of my chair and go talk to him and say, hey, here's the situation that we have. Work with somebody that knows the tax implications of those, along with the software that we have that allows us to see what's going to happen, that allows us to trigger, hey, we've got an issue here we need to go take a look at and figure out what the tax liability, and do they have the cash flow for that. Do you need to review how termination of your employment, voluntary or involuntary, disability or death might affect your interest under your plan? So understand what happens if you move on from the company voluntarily or involuntarily. This is do shares of your company stock along with any unvested RSUs make up a significant portion of your investment portfolio. This is one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy as a financial planner. Locally, we used to have a bank called National City Bank. Several people, and again, these are people that work at banks, held a significant portion of their assets in company stock inside their 401k plan. Back in 2008, 2009, during the Great Recession, people lost everything because they weren't diversified. This is a very personal issue for me. I take this to heart, and I really want you to understand. Make sure you understand what asset allocation, asset location, and making sure it's a tax efficient diversification strategies are being used. And that concentration of company stock can be especially risky. You don't know all the black swans that may happen at your company, especially with supply chain issues that we're having currently in 2022 and coming out of the pandemic from 2020 and 2021. There's a lot of businesses that struggle through these times. Although things look great, you never know what the future holds. Diversify, and also tax efficient diversification is a big part of this. Does your company have a blackout period or trading window? Are there any limitations on when you can sell shares? Do you need downside protection while holding your company's shares? If so, consider whether buying put options is permitted. This is a good play on an investment for safeguarding your assets during that transition time. Are you considered selling company shares at a loss? Review the timing of your sale and any restricted stock unit grants or vesting that may trigger wash sale rules. That is when we see the do-it-yourselfer really mess up and cost themselves a lot of money when they do not keep an eye on wash sale rules. On to tax issues. Do you need to understand the tax consequences of the grant of the restricted stock unit? Again, it's a taxable event. Income is not recognized until the shares are or cash are delivered. So again, that's for that tax planning. That's when working with the CPA. And I love that we have that gentleman right next door that we can go talk to and ask those questions. Do you need to understand tax consequences vesting of your restricted stock issues? Upon that transfer, the fair market value of the share is taxable compensation for federal and any state and local income taxes. The taxable event is the delivery, typically occurs at vesting, but can be deferred in circumstances. Make sure that your plan qualifies for a 409A. Income is also subject to FICA taxes in the year of vesting, regardless of any elective deferral. So a lot of tax issues, a lot of complications with restricted stock units. Oh, wait, there's more. Do you want to reduce your income tax liability in the year that RSUs vest? Consider other ways of manipulating that income. 401k max contributions. You may have a 403b, 457, traditional IRA, HSAs. It's one of the greatest tax planning strategies out there. And boy, that really can come into play if you don't get involved in taking money out of the HSA and you wait till you're older and use that HSA. And again, FSAs aren't great in my opinion compared to an HSA, but it is a way to help reduce your tax income, your taxable income. Use a bunching strategy. This is something we're seeing a lot of lately because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Again, that will sunset in 2025. But consider a donor advised fund for charitable gifts. Maximize those itemized deductions to reduce your tax liability by bunching those all into 1 year. Do you need to tax plan for withholdings in the year of investment? Your employer is required to withhold according to the supplemental withholding rates. Depending on your tax situation, this could be insufficient and you would need to make estimated tax payments. I made a wonderful video several months ago about pay stub review. Boy, it doesn't seem like that's something a financial planner should do, but it is. It is definitely something you need to look at and make sure you have sufficient withholdings. They may automatically retain shares sufficient to cover withholdings and issue the remaining shares to you. And if you have a choice under your plan, you may also sell shares to cover the withholding or pay with outside funds. So again, that's all that planning, cash flow planning, tax planning. 83 election, 83I. So we can defer some of that income for up to 5 years after the RSU vest. And do you need to help to determine your cost basis in any shares? Boy, painful sometimes when we see people come in, they put down their cost basis as 0. You don't want to pay tax on all that. Make sure you know what the cost basis is. So the cost basis should equal the amount you paid for the stock plus the amount included as taxable income. Look at your W-2. It should be right there. And that's why you have, so what we do for our clients is we have a vault, secure vault that they can put those documents in, and then we can go back, hey, 5 years later, what did we do? We have that information available to us to look at that cost basis. Don't give away more money than you should. Pay your fair share of taxes, not more than your fair share. Do you need help determining your holding period for shares acquired through your RSU? The holding period starts on the date of vesting, unless you elect to defer distribution. And do you need help understanding the tax consequences on the sale acquired through your restricted stock unit plan? When you sell shares of stock, you may have capital gains or losses to the extent your sale price is higher or lower than your cost basis. If you hold the shares for more than 1 year, gains or losses will be subject to long-term rates. So many times I see people get a little antsy because they want to diversify or they want to take the bird in the hand. I've got all this money, and they sell too soon and they pay short-term capital gains rates, which is not an efficient way of doing this. So make sure you understand what those dates are. And some last final miscellaneous issues. Do you need to assess your employer's future equity value and long-term viability? Understand what your role is in the company. You may not be at the board sitting there knowing what's going on fully. Be mindful of overly financial dependent upon your employer. Remember what I said earlier about that 10% of your assets in one place? Diversify. Make sure you understand what's going on there. You only hear the success stories. You never hear about the failures. So if you hear a success story about somebody having all their assets in one company and they made it big, you're probably hearing a very small percentage of people and a small percentage of the companies that have done that. You never get to hear the stories about the people who have lost everything, like I mentioned about with National City earlier. And there's risk that your company will be acquired. A lot of these smaller companies that are offering these restricted stock units do get acquired by larger firms. Consider how that acquisition is going to affect your restricted stock units. And do you have any future goals that this could help you achieve? Look at that vesting schedule. Look at the estimated tax consequences in your overall plan. Coordinate that with income and saving strategies. Again, financial planning is just not one issue. People always come to us about investments, but that's really a small part of the entire game and the entire plan that needs to be put together. Having a good game plan is very important. Also, what about your estate plan? Have you considered that? Have you considered putting the estate plan issues in there, or pending divorce or life changes that may occur? And does it allow you to designate a beneficiary of your restricted stock units and any state specific issues? Boy, we covered a tremendous amount here. I would hope that you are out there trying to get some help on all these non-qualified stock options, incentive stock options, restricted stock units. It is a very difficult web to figure out. A lot of people don't even know what type of stock option they have, and that can be critical to depending upon what flow chart we use here for the workflows to figure out how we're going to put this in the plan. So make sure you understand those things. Boy, just grateful you came back. Grateful you're here to watch us again. And we hope that you enjoyed our videos. Again, the thumbs up, the subscribe. We really appreciate that. And we'll keep making these videos for you. And you all have a wonderful day. Bye.